Welcome back to the TikTok show. I am your host, Ryan Heelan, and I could not be more excited about today's guest. He is one incredibly funny individual, and you may know him as Mama Carol from Netflix's show, The Circle. Please welcome to the show the very talented John Franklin. John, thank you for being here.
Oh, what's up, Brian? Dude, I'm so excited to be here, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate the plug about me being funny. It takes it out of my head that maybe I wouldn't be. You know what I
Oh
mean?
no, of course, man. Yeah, I mean, I put it in there for you, so we'll see if it really
Right, right.
comes true, but we'll see. So how's life been, man? The past couple of years, you've been very busy from what I've seen of you. How has life been?
Yeah, dude, life's been a little crazy. Over the last couple of years, I kind of like built up this crescendo. And then when the show came out, like everything kind of went crazy. So like I started doing stand up around 3 years ago and been gigging more and more ever since. And I was like thinking things were going the right direction. Then I got cast on The Circle.
Right.
And over the last month, like my life has been a whirlwind of, making content, like trying to get myself in order, like working with a bunch of different people, getting more gigs. It's been crazy, but man, like I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you're killing it, obviously. Now we'll get to all the stand up and stuff like that later, but let's go way, way back. When you were a kid, were you always like funny? Did you want to get into stand up? Were you a fan of like SNL, stuff like that?
Oh, dude. First of all, great question. Yeah, like I always liked making people laugh. Like I was always the
Right.
person who was like, when I was like at family parties trying to make sketches and things like that, like be like, Mom, Dad, watch this.
Right.
I had a friend growing up and him and I like both did theater together and like we both became huge SNL fans together. And then I started like, in middle school, started doing theater and went all the way through high school with it. And I had this like undying love for like wanting to be the
Right.
funny person in the show. I never cared about being like a lead. I never cared about any of that stuff in musicals.
Yeah.
Like I
Just want
always
to be the
wanted
guy people laugh at.
exactly. Like I always
Right.
wanted to be like the comedy guy, like oh, you think I'm funny, like a clown, like that type of a guy.
Right.
And it has been like the most addictive part of my life, like
Oh, for sure.
making people laugh. Like it's like, oh man, I could do it day in and day out, night in and night in. I love it. But yeah, ever since I was a kid, I knew I wanted to at least be on stage, if not making people laugh.
Yeah, no, I love that. I always say like the biggest compliment people can give me is like you're funny. Like I don't want you to tell me I'm good looking or like all that. Like you've been hitting the gym. No, just like tell me I'm funny. Like it fills you with such a joy that I think you don't really get anywhere else. So yeah, I agree 100%.
It's like one of those universal languages, like it's
Oh,
like
for
comedy,
sure.
like if you're doing it right and like you're being funny and like I think everybody has the ability to be funny. Like doing stand-up's a different thing, but being funny is like everybody has their different sense of humor.
Right.
And that's why I love like the universal ability of comedy, where it's like I could just say something at a party that's like a one-off that could be like the funniest thing anybody's heard all day.
Right. And that's what
But,
they
like,
remember for the rest of the night.
right. Like
Yeah.
I've had those things like where I just say like a line to a person at a party, like not trying to be funny, like not trying to like make a joke, but like they're like, oh, that was so good. Like I'm gonna use that. And like that's
Right.
the highest compliment for me is like even when somebody sees my stand-up and they were like, oh, I want to use that like to their friends and stuff, like that's some of the highest form of compliment that I could get. Like I have a friend whose dad saw one of my jokes and he tells it to his friends. And I think that's like one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I always love stand-up comedians because that to me is one of the most like frightening things to be able to do. And so do you remember like who was your inspiration that finally made you go, oh, this person is hilarious. I'm gonna give it a shot because I love what they do.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Norm Macdonald. Norm
Oh,
Macdonald was
absolutely.
the first person I watched when I was a kid. And like, I mean, to say you were a kid watching Norm Macdonald is definitely like shout out my parents for not being too strict. You know what I
For
mean?
sure, for sure.
But I remember I watched him do a joke on Saturday Night Live when he was doing Weekend Update, and it was about the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yes.
And I forget the exact joke, but I remember seeing that and like the audience doesn't laugh. And he like kind of sits there, stares at them, and he goes, "There's more where that came from, so you better get used to it." It
Yeah.
breaks the whole audience. I
Yeah.
remember watching that and being like, that's how I want to do stand-up. Obviously, maybe not be that crass and polarizing, but I mean, like, if there are jokes that you believe in and like you believe they're funny, odds are somebody else in this world believes it's
Right.
funny. So like instead of being like, wow, I suck or that joke sucks, it's like, no, own it. Like if you wrote it, you thought it was funny at some point in
Yeah.
your life. So somebody might. And obviously, like I've had my fair share of bombs and things like that when I first started. But like when I watched that, that was like my first inkling of kind of like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah,
Like just
for
try
sure.
it.
You're right.
Like
Yeah.
give it a shot.
Yeah. And
Because
if
like
it
you
doesn't
never
work,
know.
so what? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, let's get into the Netflix thing because like you're on a Netflix show. Does hearing that still blow your mind? I mean, you're from Jersey. A kid from Jersey is on a Netflix show. What does that
Yeah.
mean to you?
Oh man, dude. It's crazy. Like yesterday I was sitting home, I was having an old lady night in, I was drinking some wine, eating ice cream, trying to find a movie to watch.
Right.
And I'm scrolling through Netflix and I ended up watching the movie Hustle with Adam Sandler. Not a plug. Like
I watched that last night too. So look
oh,
at
dude,
that.
we could talk about that for a
Oh,
minute, but
100%.
I'm like scrolling through and then like as you're scrolling, don't know what you want to watch, and you see the circle and your face pops up and you're like, you never
Yeah.
get used to it. It's kind of wild. And like you're right, like being a kid from New Jersey is like a thing. Like in New Jersey, people are so supportive of this type of stuff.
For
Like,
sure. Yeah.
oh my God, my like the neighborhood around me in Hoboken, it's like it's weird because yesterday I ran into a person, like I didn't know them. They kind of spotted me. And that happens to
Mhm.
me a lot, which is awesome. But they kind of spotted me and they were like, like you're our local, so like you're our celebrity right now.
For
Like
sure. Yeah.
you're looking for somebody like you. And it's like it's crazy to think that what I did matters that much to people.
Right.
You don't really like put that in perspective, but like a lot of people, especially nowadays with everything going on in the world and like how crazy the world is, a
Mhm.
lot of people need something to root for
For
and
sure.
like be excited about. And like I didn't realize that could be my thing, but just based on my personality, like the preach positivity thing that I do and like how I went on the show, like it's been cool to see that what I did mattered, if it's not to one person, but a bunch of people.
Right. And I think that can be one of the most rewarding things because I'm sure you've gone through, as your career as a comedian, you've had the doubts and you've had the nights where you're like, oh, is this really what I want to do? But now to see your hard work play out on a scale that is bigger than you ever imagined is just speaks to the kind of comedian and person you are. So
Oh,
congratulations.
oh man, thank you. And like your
Yeah.
observation is you hit the nail on the head. I mean,
Yeah.
great talk show host hit the
Yeah.
nail on
Thank
the
you.
head.
Hey, I've done this for about a year now, so I'm hoping I'm picking up a couple tricks, but
Oh, dude, you're nailing it. Like you couldn't be more right about that. It's just like being a comedian, doing any sort of entertainment. I'm sure you went through it
Mhm.
having a show like this. You're
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
am I really meant to do this?
Yeah.
Like, can I do this? And like when something you do starts clicking and like you're seeing it get bigger and bigger, and like you see like what you saw as like the infant of the idea finally
Right.
come into like what it is now. It's like, man, like it matters to people. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we could sit here and talk about life for hours, I'm sure, me and you, but I want to get into the show. How did the opportunity come about? What was it like, auditioning and applying? How did that whole process work?
Oh man, I like I was in between jobs. I didn't know what I wanted to do. My sister, Victoria, pushed me. She was like, "You should apply for the Circle." Like, I'm not a reality TV guy. Like, I've never
Right.
really been. There's only two shows I watch. It's the Circle and the Challenge, and that's it. And she was like, "You'd be good at it. Try it out." Gave it a shot. Just sent in an application online, like just a website, like sign
Right.
up.
Yeah.
Got a phone call about a month and a half later. I was living in the apartment I'm in right now. And I looked at my cousin and was like, I'm gonna audition for a TV show. And he goes, what? Like he was so confused. Like, and
Right.
I ended up going through this audition process where it's like the first day they were like, all right, so how would you play the game? I was like, so I would be myself. And they go, no. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
I didn't mean that. I meant I wouldn't be myself.
Well, they go, dude, they literally hit me with they said, if you can't be yourself, we have too many people trying to be themselves. If you couldn't be themselves, who could you be? I was like, well, I sure would like to be myself. I'll be, and I panicked and I said my mom,
Yeah.
and God love me. That must have been the greatest form of improv I've ever done in my life,
Right.
because like I love my mom. We're super close. Like everything I say on the show is very true. I just never thought I'd have to fake play her for a
Mhm.
game. But when I did it, they were like, all right, I like this idea. And I
Right.
went through 6 more auditions. Next thing I knew, I was in England and we were shooting a television show.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, I love the fact that you chose to play your mom, but there's got to be some challenges that come with that because, like, you're obviously close with your mom, but now you're having to like act like her and draw from things that she might have done when she was a kid in like different eras. Was it difficult trying to like tap into a character that is your mom?
Oh, there were some days where I'd wake up and I'd be like, how the fuck am I still like, how am I still here? Like, I couldn't
Right.
believe it after a while, but I realized like, because the game is all about trust. I was so trustworthy to my alliances that like,
Right.
even if they didn't think I was a catfish, they were like, but they have my back, so I
Yeah.
need them. But the actual playing my mom, I mean, I could go on for hours, but one of my favorite things was like I'm really good at like old references. Like I am an old soul. Like I love old music, old movies. Like
Right.
nothing that's my favorite has been a thing in the last 25 years. Like besides maybe food. Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
favorite movies, TV show, music is all like pre 2000.
Right.
So like but there would be times in the show where I would reference things, and I would love hearing like my cast talk about it after the fact because do you want me to go into like it's not like a long story, but it's a good
No,
story
for
about
sure.
the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Please.
like I think this is one of my favorite stories from the show that doesn't make it in the season. That like it's
Right.
one of my favorite things. I wish it made it in, but it didn't. There's a part in the season where we have like these two parties. One is a cruise party, and the other is a toga party for two new players. So I went to the toga party, and we had to dance during this party, and
Mhm.
our dance scene doesn't make it in, but the other party's dance scene does. They danced to the Mambo Number Five. We danced to I Will Survive.
Oh,
Great
come on.
song.
Yeah.
Great song. And we're dancing like we're going nuts. Like it gets to the group chat after. And I say something like, Gloria Gaynor, that takes me back because that's who
Right.
sings I Will Survive. And I didn't know what was going on in anybody else's room. But after the fact, everybody came up to me that was at the party and was like, we were like, who is this? They're like,
Who
this
knows
isn't really
that?
her because why would they know that if they weren't
Right.
her? They were like freaking out. So like it was cool to like unknowingly put people's minds in a pretzel
Right.
because I like
Right.
had that little like the nuance about me to like be
Yeah.
such an old soul. But yeah, there were definitely times where it got tough.
That's awesome. Now, what was it like working with that cast? I'm sure you have great friendships and memories with them. Are you in touch with some of them still?
Oh yeah, all of them. We all keep in touch and like we're all friends. There's never been there was no beef that transcended from the show into real
Right.
life. Like we all went through such a unique experience of being in our rooms completely alone that
Yeah.
like we only had each other. Like even if we were at each other's throats, like we still had fun. You know what I
Yeah, for
mean?
sure. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the like my favorite thing is like, I met a guy like Brew who's become like my best friend from
Right.
this whole experience. And like he and I knew of him before the show
Hmm.
even existed. And like it's just been so cool to like call somebody like that my friend because you never know what they're gonna be like in real life. And he's
Right.
as genuine as they come. I mean, Trevor calls himself like my big brother. Like he is like my go-to, and like it's just such a cool cast of people. Like I always say, like it doesn't make sense that we're all friends. Like if you put all of us
Right.
in police lineup and like you were like, what makes all of these people connected?
The same.
Well, yeah, like why are they all the same? It's like we went through the craziest, most unique life experience together.
Right.
And
Yeah.
regardless of our walks of life, what we do, like what our things are, and like how our personalities are, we just naturally gel because we did it together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sometimes they say like opposites attract, and I think that entire cast just brings something to the table individually, and together it's like this huge friendship thing, which is you never know with like A, social media people, and B, reality TV anyways, like how personalities are going to click. So I love
Oh my God.
love hearing that you guys are still in touch and hang out and all that. Now,
Absolutely.
you're someone that's done stand up and Netflix. Which one brings out, what are the differences and similarities? Which one brings out the nerves and stuff like
Wow, that is a great question that I've never gotten before.
that?
Stand up is so much more. It's weird to say it. It's so much more nerve wracking, but it doesn't make me more nervous.
Right.
Like I've gotten so comfortable on stage over the course of my life that it's like there's this like age old thing where it's like if you're not nervous, it was in Hustle. If,
Yeah,
like
it was.
if you're not nervous, like it means you don't give a shit. So
Right.
like every time like I get right before I go on stage, I am freaking out. Like my mind's
Mhm.
going, my heart's racing. Like I feel it beating. And the minute like I have a microphone in my hand, I'm standing there, it all goes away.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
it's like anything else like that. With Netflix, what was so difficult was that like there's no immediate interaction from people. Like you don't know if you're doing anything the
You don't
right
know
way.
how it's being received.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, especially while you're doing it, like
Right.
you have 12 cameras in a room and a person speaking to you over a speaker. That's your producer.
Right.
And like, that's it. So like, I was just, after a while, you just start living like you would live in your apartment, in your room, anywhere.
Right.
Like you're just vocalizing everything. And I wasn't nervous. You're never nervous because like, it's hard to
There's
be
not
nervous.
much to be nervous about. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But what you start realizing like is you start picking up on like, oh, people are going to watch this. And a lot of people are going to watch this. Like, do I
Right.
want to be doing this right now? Because people are going to watch this. Like, we all joked all the time. Like, we were nervous. Like, one of us would be like picking our nose or like picking a
Right.
wedgie or like,
Yeah.
you know, and it makes it in the final cut and we look like disgusting.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing like you really get cognizant of. The
Right.
stand-up stuff is like you have those nights where like you're about to go on stage and you're like, I'm gonna faint if I don't get up there right now.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like that's what it means you care. Like it means you want to get better.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
it's been like so cool. It's been so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Even on days when I have interviews, I'll try to like distract myself enough so I'm not thinking about it. But still, like an hour before it's time, I'm like, this is going to go horribly. I don't know why I think that, but it's just like that
Yeah.
self-conscious like bug in your head. Now, obviously, over the last couple of years, your life is just blown up. Now, what are some goals you have for the next couple of years? I'm sure this Netflix thing has opened a ton of doors for you. The stand-up. What do you see yourself doing? Hopefully, in the next couple of years.
Man, everything. Like
Yeah.
there's like a line from a Bruce Springsteen song growing up. He plays it live and he says, like, you know, my mom wanted me to be a writer, my dad wanted me to be a lawyer, but what they didn't understand is that I wanted it all. And like it resonates with me. And it's like I want to do stand-up, I want to do sketches, I want to act, I want to do music because I do it all. Like I do all that stuff. And it's like it's you get a little overwhelmed a lot
Right.
because like this is so new to me. Like I gained 45,000 followers in a matter of a week.
That
And
is
like
crazy.
like it is in a week. It's just like it was not a gradual growth. So you're like, and that's just on Instagram. Like on TikTok, I gained about like 25,000, and it's like
Right.
you're like, how do I maintain these people? How do I do all this stuff? But my goals at this point are just keep doing stand up. I want to be able to. I want to go on the road, which I'm working on. Like that's not unattainable. I'm filming a special in September, which is really cool. I'm really excited about that. I'm just gonna go right to YouTube with that. Like there's no like television ties to anything, but it's like might as well do it now, which is really
For sure.
cool.
Yeah.
I have been given that opportunity.
Absolutely.
If my goal overall is like if in a year from now, like I'm generating revenue as John Franklin as an entity and I'm living my life like happily by all of the things that I want to do in the entertainment industry, that I'm winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's it.
For sure. And I think like we're seeing a lot of these social media people gaining followers like crazy, but people like you that actually captivate this moment and take advantage of it is, I think, what separates people sometimes. So I love hearing stuff like that from you. Now, how has your family, friends kind of reacted to your success over the past couple of years? I'm guessing a lot of support because you're from Jersey. So is that true?
Yeah, it's a lot of support, a lot of shit giving, like in a loving
of course.
way. You know what I mean? Like it's always like, oh, here he is, the big
Right.
star, like all
Right.
that stuff all the time. But it's been so fun. Like, you know, my aunts and uncles will give me shit, but like they always say like this, they always say they're proud of me and things like that. My cousins are great, have been so supportive, and my immediate family, like my mom, who I don't even understand how she let me go on that show. But like my mom, my dad, my sister, like all of them have been so supportive of like everything I want to do my whole life, not even just like within the last like couple of years, but it's cool to know like you have a support system, because so many people I find in the world of like being creative didn't have a supportive bunch being like, go do it, because you never know what's going to happen. Like a lot of people like were stifled in their creativity because their parents or people around them wanted them to be practical. And like, I've always felt like the impracticality of chasing your dream is like what drives it to make it happen.
For sure.
Because like, you're like, it's not going to happen unless I believe it.
Right.
You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like,
for sure.
And if you're the one who stifles it, then that's your fault. But if other people stifle it, it's like, it's not their say.
Right.
So like, that's why I've been really lucky to have that. And like, that's why I really push people like to do the things that they love, because that's when you really get a chance to shine, you know?
Right. No, I love like getting to talk to people that create content is so inspiring, even if it's just like one little sentence here and there, because it's true. You have to see it before anybody else can see it, and you have to believe it before anyone else can. So it's like I get to talk to this handful of people that are like carving their own path and doing stuff like that. So it's really amazing to see. Well, John, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, it means the world to me. Guys, please go watch The Circle on Netflix. You will not be disappointed. It's entertaining from start to finish. And make sure you follow John on all his social medias. He's hilarious, and he has a lot of great stuff coming for you guys. And make sure you follow me for more great interviews. John, thank you.
Ryan, thanks so much, man. This was a great interview. You keep doing what
Thank
you're
you,
doing,
man.